Damn, let me tell you something. Deontay was your saving grace. Because if he had chose to keep his mouth closed on that night, baby, you might have went home. You might have went home. But Deontay saved your butt because he decided he had to get something up off his chest. Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Now if this is your first time here, hey, welcome. My name is Dianne and I'm super excited that you found your way here. Now this video is episode 3 recap and I'm so excited because we are flying through these episodes. No, I'm not caught up to where you guys are, but I'm getting there. Like, consistency, okay? Like, I'm getting there, okay? If you have not already, make sure you go back and watch my first impressions video. I have episode 1 recap and episode 2 recap. But come back. Go watch those, but make sure you come back. Now, for those of you that have been keeping up, okay, and you have already watched those first 3 videos, then you're right here. We're ready to go. So let's jump right on into episode 3 because we about to get into it, okay? Damn. Okay, so jumping right on into this episode, Dan makes a statement, right? And he says he chose Parvati because she could be a sacrifice for the traitors if the it hits the fan, right? And so when he makes that statement of her being an easy sacrifice, in my mind, you know, knowing of course what we know is going to happen in the future, in my mind I'm like, okay, he didn't say anything against Phaedra. He's not saying that he wants to go against Phaedra. If anything, what I took from that is, for the protection of myself and Phaedra, I'm bringing Parvati in so that she can be sacrificed if need be for the protection of us. You know, of course it's Dan, so it's more so for the protection of me, but ultimately for the protection of us. You get what I'm saying? Like, he didn't say he was going to throw Phaedra under the bus. He didn't say he was going, you know, sacrifice Phaedra. That wasn't the conversation. And so knowing what I know now about what happens in the future, I'm very interested to see, when did the shift happen? Like, what caused him to say, okay, it's no longer me and Phaedra, and then, you know, Parvati is the +1. That's not the conversation anymore. Now it's him and Parvati, and Phaedra is the +1. So I'm very, very interested to see when that shift happened. In any event, they're now having conversations as the traitors to see who they're going to banish. And in the conversation, I thought it was very weird that Trishelle was not an option, okay? Like, you're throwing Marcus out here about how influential he is in the house. And my thing is, we literally just watched this woman turn an entire house, with her words, turn an entire house against one person. Like, she was able to gather the troops and be influential in getting everyone to come together to vote out Peppermint. And that's not the person that's at the top of your list. Baby, the target on her back should have been the size of a boulder. Like, I don't understand how she's not even an option to be discussed. Even if you guys don't choose her, she's not a topic of converse. I don't understand. But somehow Marcus is top priority. So it's breakfast time, and we all know breakfast means we get an opportunity to see who did not survive throughout the night. So everyone is coming in, and when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, Marcus does not walk through the doors. And for me, it was Phaedra comforting Larsa. First of all, when Larsa was nervous and she was like, you know, I don't think Marcus is gonna make it, he's not coming through. Why was Phaedra telling her, oh girl, you gotta manifest it, girl, you gotta manifest it? Ma'am, you know, why are you telling this woman to manifest something that you know is not going to happen? Like, oh my, this is why I say, playing in these people's faces has to be the highlight of the game, because it's too easy. It's too easy to play in these people's faces. She's like, girl, you gotta manifest it. Don't speak bad. You have to manifest it. And so when Marcus does not come through the doors, she is like, the first person that Larsa turns to is Phaedra to hug Phaedra. Phaedra's comforting her, and she's like, I can't believe it, and it doesn't make sense, and I don't understand it. And I am watching this woman work and watching this woman play this game. And you know, we only on episode 3, but my girl is doing it. My girl is doing it, and I am so proud. So Marcus is not coming back. And I think ultimately it was that last conversation that he had with Dan. Like, he really let Dan know, like, you know, there are people in here that I'm watching. You are one of them, you know, and Dan was like, okay, noted. And when the traitors had their conversation, you know, Dan was like, he's next. And so Marcus is here no more. And so now everyone, they're having these conversations because it's like, Marcus is not here. Who do we think the traitor is? Why would they pick Marcus? And in a lot of the conversations, more conversations than not, Dan is the topic. Dan being called a traitor, Dan not being trustworthy, like all of these, the conversations are revolving around Dan. And I'm like, friend, the people are catching on to you because you are in here playing Big Brother. Like, I'm going to need you to tap into your traitor skills, okay? One thing Johnny Banana said, and it was on, I don't even remember what season of the challenge it was on, right? But one thing he said, and I will never let it go, I don't care what game I play, I will always take it with me. He said the greatest skill you can have in any of these games is the ability to adapt. And Dan, I don't feel like you're adapting. I feel like you are very much in Big Brother mode. And baby, I need you to adapt and come up with some traitor skills and start thinking like a traitor and not a Big Brother player. Oh my God. With Marcus being out of the house, Larsa she's pissed, okay? And my girl is on a mission and she is out for blood, okay? She has put a hit out on all the men in the house because her theory is it has to be an alpha male making all of these decisions, okay? And she's like, look, if you a man, you're wanted, okay? Watch your back. And so going into this new mission, I feel like all of the men should be trying to get these safety shields because Larsa has made it very clear we are coming for a man. A man has to go because one of you men are a traitor and I'm going to find you and I am going to get you, okay? And she's not hearing anything else. So men, watch your back. So it is time for the night mission. And honestly, all they really have to do is go out into the cemetery. Yes, the cemetery. All they really have to do is go out into the cemetery and dig up these pieces of gold. There's pieces of gold buried throughout the cemetery and their job is to just go out, dig it up and bring it back, right? $20,000 total buried out there. So they just have to go out and get it. Now, the gag or the catch is there is a huge, I think it was 2 searchlights that are going to be going throughout the cemetery. And if the searchlight lands on you, then, you know, you're eliminated. So they're going to do this with half of the cast already in the cemetery and the other half out by the gate. And as a person gets out, then another person comes in, right? Now, of course, inside of the cemetery, it's not just the 20K, right? The gold is not the only thing in there. It's also the 3 shields. They're also in there, right? And so, in my opinion, like I said before, Larsa has made this huge declaration. And so the men need to be on it with collecting these shields. But you know what I was also thinking about? At some point, a lot of the men are going to start, you know, putting 2 and 2 together and like, hold on, Peppermint is the only woman who has left this house. We need to get together and start getting these women up out of here because if not, they're going to take us out. Not realizing Dan is taking you out. But, you know, so I feel like at this point, everybody should be on high shield alert. Everybody should be looking for a shield, okay? So the mission starts, and baby, when I tell you these searchlights are taking these people out, I mean, pew, eliminated, pew, eliminated, pew. I mean, these searchlights are taking these people out. I mean, and it's so sad. It's so sad, but I get it because it has to be hard trying to dig and find the gold or the shields and watch how the light is moving. Like that has to be so difficult. But my man Bergie, okay? And it pissed me off because Bergie had come up with a strategy. He had memorized the way that the lights were going. You know, if this light was going to go left or this light was going to go right, he memorized it. He knew what to do, right? And he was trying to express this to the rest of his castmates and they were just not listening to him. If I was Bergie, I would have taken a mental note like, oh, these people in here do not value my opinion. So I need to assert myself just a little bit more. I need to make sure I'm in the conversations because nobody is listening to me. And so when they finally start listening to him, they are able to dodge the searchlights and collect the gold. And I'm like, yes, we made it. We are finally here. And so I thought that they were going to complete it and get the full 20K, but that didn't happen. They got 19.5. Like 19.5 is good. For them to be getting out as much as they were in the beginning to collect 19.5 was amazing. So shout out to you, Bergie. Shout out to you, Bergie, because had it not been for you, baby, the bank would have been empty. And that is my word, and I'm sticking to it. The bank would have been empty. Because they wasn't gonna get it. I almost forgot to talk about the Ekin-Su and Janelle situation. So before they win, right, Ekin-Su and Janelle have this whole moment where they're battling over this last shield, okay? Now, I don't know who had it first. All I know is when the camera pans over to them, I see Janelle almost like putting her whole body weight on Ekin-Su to make sure that she is the one who gets this shield and gets on about her business, okay? That's what I did see. Janelle was like, I don't care what you got going on. I don't care what's happening over here. I'm going to walk away with this. Almost like they were wrestling, right? Later on, there's a statement made where it says that Janelle elbowed her. I didn't see that. Comment below if you saw it. I didn't see it. Unless, of course, like I always say, we only get to see this much. So unless it was edited out, I don't know. But I definitely didn't see her elbow Ekin-Su. I didn't see that. But I saw Janelle go out there and fight for that shield, okay? And so when the mission is over, we have Janelle with the shield, Tamara with the shield, and Peter with the shield. And so 3 shields and 19.5K in gold. So on the way back to the castle after the mission, there of course is a lot of conversation about the Janelle and Ekin-Su situation. And the stories that both of them are telling are 2 totally different stories. And you know how the game of telephone works. By the time it gets to the last person, it's definitely not what the original story was, right? And so I think that's how the elbow situation came into play, because who said that? Like, where did that come from? But that is happening. And so now the whole house is aware of this wrestling match between Janelle and Ekin-Su. So we get back to the castle, right? And everyone is having the conversations because tonight there is a round table and a banishment. And so they're trying to figure out who they're going to call out. Now, at this point, Dan is the topic of conversation, okay? Dan is the topic of conversation. And the thing is, Dan is starting to realize that he is the topic of conversation. And so in the Big Brother community, this is where we see Dan shine. It is in these moments when his back is up against the wall and, it looks like his game might be in jeopardy. And, you think, us as the viewers, we might think, oh, they got him. He about to go home. Dan pulls out some random off the wall strategy from somewhere in his mind, and it just shifts the entire game, right? That's usually what we are accustomed to seeing from Dan. And so I'm hoping he pulls something out like that, but we don't know. In any event, Parvati confirms to Dan, like, hey, friend, it's you. So you need to figure out something quick because, baby, it's you. Right? So also throughout these conversations, I'm starting to realize that Peter is very, very smart. He's on it, right? He's moving in the right direction, but he's going this way. And I need someone or something to kind of just, you know what I mean? And make him go like this. But Peter is definitely, he's on it. He is on it. So now here we are. We have made it to the round table, right? And we just kicked this thing off with Bergie telling Dan, look, your name has been going around. If I were you, I would say something. This is your moment to speak, right? And so Dan goes into this whole spiel of, look, I've already told you guys, I'm very quiet. I only speak when I need to speak. I'm not one of those people that, when I shoot, I don't miss. And so I don't like to just do random conversation. So if I bring someone's name up, you're gonna know, oh, Dan really feels strong about this. He was like, with me, we're not gonna get another peppermint situation, right? And so I'm like, okay, Dan, okay. But I'm looking at the people's faces and I'm like, it may not be working, friend. It may not be working. And also, in my opinion, okay, because judging by their faces, right, it looks like all of the nails were put into Dan's coffin, right? And then here comes Deontay. Dan, let me tell you something. Deontay was your saving grace. Because if he had chose to keep his mouth closed on that night, baby, you might have went home. You might have went home. But Deontay saved your butt because he decided he had to get something up off his chest. So Deontay decides he wants to speak up. And he says, basically, we're not about to be worried about Dan. Y'all worried about the wrong thing. I'm trying to tell y'all about Max. And so he starts going to this whole spiel about Max, and I'm just listening to him talk, and I'm like, oh, baby, you are loud and wrong. Like, you are loud and wrong. And so then Max shifts the attention to Janelle and Ekin-Su, and then they get mad, and they start yelling, and they shift it back to Max. And then CT decides he wants to chime in and say something. So then Max shifts the attention to CT. And then CT shifts it back to Max. So everybody at this point is just loud and wrong. Just yelling out a whole bunch of wrongness. Okay? Just yelling out wrong. Dan is sitting in the corner, and at one point the camera pans to him and he has a smirk on his face because he realizes, oh my gosh, like I just dodged this so smoothly. Like, you should have been hugging Deontay like you ain't never hugged nobody before, because I'm telling you, that man was your saving grace that night, because the people were ready to off with your head. They were ready to off with your head. And so Deontay decides to make this whole speech about the peppermint situation, about, you know, don't be sheep, and, you know, this time we're going to do the right thing, and we're not having another peppermint situation, and we're going to vote correctly this time, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, oh, no, you're not about to do that, though. You're about to do the wrong thing again. And so Larsa, my girl, Larsa steps up, and she's like, hey, damn it, I've had enough. Like, she's like, hey, okay, you guys are saying all the wrong people. I'm going to bring this conversation back to Dan, okay? And just so happens, as she's bringing the conversation back to Dan, Alan walks in. And I'm like, damn it. Let me tell you something. Larsa, Peter, and MJ, okay? Because MJ had things to say about Dan as well. So Larsa, Peter, and MJ, they are on it. They are on it. Peter didn't say Dan, but I'm just talking about in the game, how I'm noticing that he's playing. These three right here, they are on it, okay? And so Alan walks in, and before Larsa can get into the Dan conversation again, and the camera goes back to Dan, and you see him again with this little smirk on his face, like, ooh, saved by the bell, saved by the Alan, okay? Alan comes in and lets them know that it is time to vote. Now, I don't know if anyone peeped Parvati's voting card, but it was brilliant, okay? Parvati's voting card had a D on it, right? And then she crossed out the D, and then she wrote Kevin. In my mind, I felt like she was sending out a signal that her original thought was Dan, okay? And I am shocked Dan did not catch on to that. Like, Dan, there's no commentary. Maybe he did, but we just didn't get to see it because, again, the show is edited so that we can get however many minutes. But I'm surprised Dan didn't say anything about that. Like, why would you, what you doing, ma'am? Why would you know what I mean? That would have sent a red flag to me. Like, what you doing, girl? You know, but it was good on Parvati's end. It was really good on Parvati's end. I thought that was so good. So now it's time for the votes. And I don't know how. I do not know how, and my feelings were a little hurt because Max, let me tell you something about Max, okay? His trail might have been a little bit off. Okay, but Peter's is too, but his trail may have been a little bit off. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, he was going to call out the BS. Just like he called out that Trishelle and Peppermint situation as some BS. Just like he called out Janelle and Ekin-Su. Like, Max was on it, okay? And I needed him to stay in the house to call out the foolishness. They ended up sending him home. They ended up sending Max with the KS from Dancing with the Stars. They ended up sending my friend home. And I'm just like, what are we doing, people, right? So, of course, before a person leaves, they get to stand there and tell the cast if they are a traitor or if they are a faithful. Max stands there and he lets them know, I am a faithful. And again, the theatrics. Oh my gosh, we've done it again. And da 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 da. And people like, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. What if you knew it? Stop voting people out that you know are not traitors. Like, you guys have to shake. And I know you guys are probably like, but Dayvon and Big Brother, you went with the majority of the house. And that's fine. This is not Big Brother, okay? This is not Big Brother. I don't think there are punishments and consequences for not voting with the house. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not. Okay, this is not Big Brother. You can vote however you want to vote. And so voting out Max, I think, was a huge mistake. And damn, Max, I wasn't ready for you to go. I was not ready for you to go. So after Max, with the KS from Dancing with the Stars, after Max leaves, Deontay has this moment, right? The game is getting to him. He's tired of being wrong. He's tired of sending home innocent people. Like, it's just, he's not here for it. And so he's crying, and it's like, it's really weighing heavy on him. And, you know, Phaedra goes over there and she's comforting him. And I'm just like, you know, again, everybody's not cut out for it. There takes a certain amount of cutthroatness to be able to play these certain kind of games. And that's exactly, like, if you go back to my first impressions video, I tell you guys that he is a gentle giant, and that this is exactly what I mean. In this moment, we are seeing his heart, because even though he is a boxer and we see his, you know, his height and his muscles, and we think like, oh, like, you know, you know what I mean? His heart supersedes all of that. And in this moment, we are seeing that he has a huge heart, you know? And so everybody isn't cut out for it. And that's the scary part about reality TV, because we've seen people who have the nicest spirits, the biggest hearts, so on and so forth, get wrapped up in these games, and the villain origin story is created. You know what I mean? Just from playing these games. We've seen it happen on so many occasions. And so, you know, it isn't for everybody. And I don't knock him for crying. I don't feel some type of way about him, you know, having this emotional moment. It was real, and it was raw, and it was him. So after that, the traitors get this secret note, right? And in the note, it says that they're not going to meet tonight like they usually do. They're not going to meet tonight and discuss a person for banishment. They're going to have to do this in plain sight, okay? They're going to have to pick one of the faithfuls to banish, but in plain sight. So we're going to call this the Traitors mission, okay? The Traitors mission. So basically what happens is, inside of the library, there are 3 Shakespeare books, right? And inside of the books, there is a poisonous chalice, the little cup, okay? The little cup, okay? Inside of the Shakespeare books. They have to collectively agree upon one of the faithfuls that they're going to get to drink from this cup. And so the first faithful that drinks from the cup, whether it's the person they chose or not, whoever put their lips on that chalice is going to get poisoned. The note says it'll be a slow death, right? And so now they have to get together somehow, because they are never seen, all 3 of them together. We don't see it, right? But they have to somehow come to an agreement on who they're going to pick to drink from the cup. So now we see Parvati and Dianne yet again go off and have a conversation without Phaedra. And at first I was irritated, because I was like, this is a Traitors challenge. Why are the only people having the conversation are Dianne and Parvati? How come you two are the only 2 having this conversation? But then later on, we hear Phaedra say she does not want to be seen with them. She said, I am not seen with them. We don't talk. No one knows that I even know them. Like, I don't want to be seen with them at all. And so she was like, she was going to trust their judgment in who they were going to choose. And now, good and bad, plus and minus, pro and con. right? Because cool, you're never seen with them, but then also they are making moves without you because they meet each other. They have conversations. They talk a lot and you are not in those conversations. And so you're not in the know. And so it could be one of those situations where it's like ignorance is bliss, or many shall perish for lack of knowledge. It could be one of those, you know what I mean? And so, I don't know, but we'll see how Phaedra works this thing out. Anyway, so Dan and Parvati are having a conversation in the library of who they should get to drink from the chalice. And MJ's name comes up, John's name comes up, and then Dan brings up Sheree. And this is where the Traitors game takes a shift, okay? He brings up Sheree and Parvati immediately. She's like, oh, Phaedra's not going to allow that to happen. She's going to be pissed. And so Dan is like, well, the beauty about this particular mission is that Phaedra will never know. You know what I mean? It's like if they set the cup down and Sheree just so happens to pick it up and drink from it, then it is what it is. She picked up the cup. There's a way to do this to where it won't fall back on them and it'll just be like, she picked up the cup. What were we supposed to do? She picked up the cup, you know? And I thought that was real scandalous because why are we doing that? Why are we doing that, Dan? What's the purpose? What are we doing, Dan? I'm trying to, so far in the game, I've been able to follow you and I've been able to explain what I believe your thought process is. But in this moment, I'm really not understanding the thought process of bringing up Sheree, especially since your reasoning for Sheree is, well, she doesn't talk. She doesn't say anything. Baby, that's the same reason why they're coming after you. So if nothing else, on a strategic level, I would think to keep Sheree in the game because you can start talking more and then you can put Sheree in front of you as a shield to say, well, you know, I'm not the one that's not talking the most anymore. You get what I'm saying? So coming after her, to me, didn't seem like it was about Sheree. It seemed like this was a direct hit at Phaedra, you know, and I'm not liking that, Dan, but I'm going to I'm just going to follow the story. Before I say too much, I'm just going to follow the story and see what happens, right? And so, boom, they narrow down those three, Sheree, MJ, and John. And now it's time to go to work because he tells Parvati, and see, this is the Dan that I know. Damn it, this is the Dan that I know. He tells Parvati, you have to be the one to do it. I can't do it. You have to be the one to do it. So you have to go out there and you have to get one of these three to drink from the cup. And so if it is Sheree, right, Dan can easily say, well, Parvati did it. I didn't have the cup. I didn't do it. Parvati's the one that gave her the cup. And this is how he hypes her up in true Dan fashion. This is how he hypes up Parvati to go out and do it. He says to her, "Ooh, this is where the Black Widow gets to show up. It's Black Widow time." And so now he's hyping her up and getting her ready to go out into the ring. And I'm just like, Parvati, don't you fall for it. Girl, do not fall for it because Phaedra will eat you up, baby. Don't you fall for it. But she hyped and she goes out there. I'm telling you now, Parvati, I don't understand why you didn't turn to Dan and say, okay, you do it. You got the three people. You are giving the reasons as to why they should. You do it. You gonna take the chalice. You go out there and make them drink, right? But she didn't say that. She hyped up because it's Black Widow time. She hyped up because it's Black Widow time, okay? So she goes out there and she starts off with John. And she's trying her hardest to get John to drink from this cup, but it's not working for her, okay? It's not working for her. So then she decides she's going to go over there by Sheree. Now, the problem is Phaedra is sitting right next to Sheree. And Phaedra, you smart. You are smart to be sitting next. I know she purposely did it just in case. Phaedra is sitting right there next to Sheree just in case she tries to give that cup to her. Phaedra was going to block it, okay? Now, Phaedra makes a statement and she's like, I see Parvati coming over with the cup and she's putting it towards Sheree. And she's like, not on my watch. Sheree will not drink from that on my watch, right? And so I am interested to see because, of course, Parvati ends up aborting that mission. But if she had followed through, I'm interested to see how Phaedra would have stopped it from happening. You know, like some things you just want to see. We didn't end up seeing that because Parvati decided, you know what? Let me exercise wisdom. I don't want no beef with Phaedra. let me go try something else. Let me go play with somebody else. And so at this point, John didn't work, Sheree didn't work. Now it's time to go and try to get MJ. So Parvati goes into the room where MJ is, and she's sitting there, and they're all talking and cracking jokes and having fun and drinking and all the other. And she walks in there, anybody want to drink? Anybody want some wine? Anybody want some this? And the way she's going about this, I was like, maybe you're never going to get anybody to drink from that cup. There's no way. And the cup is old and dusty and crusty and rusted, right? MJ is not going to drink from this cup, and Parvati starts to realize that I'm not going to be able to get MJ to drink from this cup. However, time is ticking, okay? The clock is running out, and the Traitors have to get this done by a certain time. Otherwise, mission failed. So realizing that the clock is running down, Parvati is like, I have to pick somebody in this room. I don't have time to go back and try John. I don't have time to go back and try Sheree. It has to be somebody that is in this room. So Parvati has to make her choices. And as she's walking, the show comes to an end. So we don't get to see in this episode who she decides to poison, but we do know it's either Janelle, Ekin-Su, Bergie, or Trishelle. That's all we know. So yeah, baby, going into this next episode, I'm like, who did she get to drink from the chalice? Okay. We made it, y'all. We made it. We made it through another episode. Episode 3 is done. In the next video, we will get into episode 4. I am so excited that you guys have been taking this journey with me. I know someone has said something to the extent of, girl, you need to just hurry up and go to episode 8. Come back to us when you get to episode 8. But I made a commitment, and I want to stick to it, and I want to be consistent. And so I'm going through each and every episode. And so those of you that are taking this journey with me, I thank you so much for staying with me and holding me accountable to be able to actually go through it. My word for this year is consistency, and I'm trying my best to stick to it. If you liked this video, make sure you like this video, share this video with somebody, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Those of you who have been subscribing, I thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have a short-term goal that I'm trying to reach as far as like my subscribers go, and we're almost there. We are almost there. We are almost there. You know, eventually I'll have a long-term goal, but right now, in just me focusing on consistency and having realistic goals, right? My short-term goal, we are almost there. So thank you guys that have taken time out of your day just to hit the subscription button. I love you guys so much. Yeah, until my next video, I love you guys with the love of the Lord. And stay tuned because I'm going to have the same outfit on, same sweater, because I'm about to record that right now.